All right, we're live here, flag waving again. Trying to have difficulties today, but today the goal is simple. We're just here getting people excited, and then we're going to talk about this rally in Philadelphia today and the impacts of that and how it's similar to the Bronx. And then we're also going to talk about vice president, and then what I think would be a very interesting plan as far as approaching the election and a pitch to the American people. But first, we'll start with Philadelphia. It's another rally, another pitch that Trump is going to give to those in America that are sick of the Democrats continuing to make promises but not delivering on them. I mean, name one thing. You have the black community, the Hispanic community, just really cities in general that have voted blue for 60, 70 years, whatever. And has really a thing changed for those communities? They still say that they're oppressed. So no progress has been made in their eyes. So why would they continue to vote for the same people that have continued to say that they will fix that oppression, but they still claim to be oppressed? Doesn't make sense. So Trump is going to try to change that. The MAGA movement is not just for white people, it's for everybody, it's for all Americans. Anybody who wants to see a thriving economy, a secure border, and no new wars, that's essentially all it is. That's who it's for. And I think we can all get behind that. And Biden won't even go to these areas. He really won't. He won't go to these areas. Thank you, sir. He won't go to these areas, even though that's his base. But Trump, he's not scared to. Trump wants to go talk to everybody, and that's what President Trump is doing in Philadelphia today. And I think he's going to continue to do that. Yesterday, it was announced that he will have a rally on Friday after the debate in Virginia. Virginia is in play, according to the Trump campaign. They believe that it is in play. They will open 11 field offices there. And Glenn Youngkin, his governor win in 2021, was one of the better things that Republicans have accomplished in the last 4 years. It is a state that if they win Virginia, the election's basically won, because that is a state that no one's really put into the picture. They're more focused on the swing states. But if Virginia becomes a swing state, Trump wins Virginia, Trump wins the whole thing. That would essentially make it to where Biden has to win every single swing state, and Trump would only have to win one. And right now, polling indicates that Trump actually is winning in all swing states. The closest swing states right now are actually Michigan and Wisconsin, not even Pennsylvania, where Trump is today. And Pennsylvania is really the key. Pennsylvania is really the key to this election. Biden needs Pennsylvania. Biden cannot go without Pennsylvania. He is almost guaranteed to lose. I'm a kid, man. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel, you coward? Classic liberal. Classic liberals, they hate free speech. They won't actually ever have a discussion either. Make sure you like the stream so liberals see this in their feed and get mad. Make sure you like the stream. We're out here trying to make people happy. Just trying to energize people so they can go make their country great again. And they just want to spread hate. It's really a shame. But back to what we were talking about. And Trump is just making this outreach in all these swing states. He keeps visiting them. That's why they want to put him in jail. That's exactly why they want to put him in jail. It's because he's making the pitch to their base, and it terrifies them because, as we saw, a New York poll came out recently where Trump was only down 8 points. That's a state that Biden won by 20 points, just for reference, in 2020. And it terrifies them that he's making strides like that in their base areas. So Trump is doing that in Philadelphia. He's going to Virginia on Friday. The campaign also announced that they'll be putting 8 campaign offices in Minnesota. Minnesota's another state that the polls have been tightening. Trump visited Minnesota for their GOP dinner. And ultimately, the Trump campaign views it as a swing state right now. And I wouldn't be shocked to see a rally planned there soon. It's very interesting to see the Trump campaign act the way they are right now. They're really out there fighting right now for every single vote. And it's something that you don't see Biden doing. He's taking 7 days away to prepare for a debate. And look at it from Biden's perspective. He thinks, and his supporters think, that Trump is a convicted felon, rightfully convicted, not wrongfully convicted, the way that we see them. The way that they see it, they think he is rightfully convicted when we know he's not. They see him as a rapist. E. Jean Carroll accused 20 other men. Yeah, I'm sure she's real credible. She also called rape sexy. It's awful to see a woman take advantage of a situation like that. And they also view Trump as a threat to democracy, even though he was never a dictator. He could have been for 4 years. He wasn't. And even during COVID, he could have just declared an emergency. And according to liberals, the Supreme Court is corrupt enough that they would have gone along with it. But he didn't do any of that. Trump actually wants to protect our republic, not end it. Biden is imprisoning his political opponents. Biden and his administration and his FBI have called parents at PTA meetings domestic terrorists. And Biden has openly bragged about subverting the Supreme Court. Can you imagine if Trump did that? But Trump, no. So all of their little lies, everything, all of it is just a confession. And that's what scares them, is because the American people are starting to see that. They're starting to wake up, and it terrifies them. All right, now on to something I was thinking about today, an interesting thing for the Trump campaign to do in their pitch to voters. And I think it can happen at the convention, or if it's too soon for that, it can wait, assuming Trump is not in jail thanks to the corrupt Judge Merchan. I think that Trump needs to go ahead and get his idea for his cabinet down so that he can make that pitch to voters. Say, hey, we're going to have, Doug Burgum as Secretary of Energy. Here's why we have him. Here's the benefits he can bring. Or we're going to have, Vivek as Secretary of State. We're going to have Tim Scott as Secretary of, Homeland, whatever. And then Ben Carson at, Department of Health, and everything like that. I think it'd be an interesting pitch so people can see, look, this is what we're going to have in place. You know what you're getting into. You know exactly what you're getting into. Yes, sir. I agree, James. Absolutely, Trump country 2024. I think it'd be an interesting pitch to voters because I don't recall any campaign or any president saying, look, this, other than an incumbent, but that's not really what we're talking about. Just making that pitch that this is going to be my cabinet. This is what we're going to do. Here's why we're going to have people in place. And I think it'd be interesting for the American people to see as we make our decision for 2024. Thank you for your service. This is in Mississippi, Paradise Adams. This is in outside of Jackson. A little bit outside of Jackson. If you live in Mississippi, it's in Brandon. But back to what we were talking about is that, I think a comprehensive plan, an idea of which people are going to be where, I think it would give the American people a really good eye-opening, experience as far as voting is concerned, because they know exactly what they're doing. They know why people are going to be there. And it's almost going to be like you're electing them and not just, hoping that they're a bunch of bureaucrats that are, actually decent at their job, which is what, federal government has turned into. Lots of love out here today. Ask me anything in the comments. Ask me anything about the election. Lots and lots of honks out here today. Also want to say thank you to my members. I have 5 members right now. They're great. They're wonderful. They love to interact. If you become a member, a priority reply to comments, and if depending on the level, you get shouted out. So I'll shout out my MAGA members here in a video coming soon. Keep that in mind. But if you can't afford it, please don't. Like, I understand the economy today. Like, it was just something that YouTube offered me, so I said, sure, whatever. If you can't afford it, please don't. That's the last thing I want to do, especially in today's economy. Actually, that segues into something I want to talk about, is Bidenomics and the failure that it's been for the American people. Thank you. One of the things that liberals love to talk about is the job numbers. Whenever you delve into those numbers, the truth becomes really clear. First off, a majority of Biden's jobs that he has created, I put that in quotes if I didn't have my hands full right now, have just been return jobs from the pandemic. And then once you go into jobs that weren't, over 90% of those jobs, I'd be willing to say, if you look at the graph, have been filled by immigrants. Many of those likely illegal immigrants. So that's not really creating jobs. That's artificially creating jobs. People that you just brought into this country, that's not Americans getting jobs. That's not the people that were hit so hard by COVID getting the jobs. It's just people that came here because Biden has let 10 million illegal immigrants cross our border into this country. That's not creating jobs. Secondly, the unemployment rate is on the rise, and it's an interesting thing to see jobs created and then the unemployment rate go up at the exact same time. And there's a reason behind that, and that is a lot of people are having to get, second, third, possibly fourth jobs just to keep up with inflation that Biden still has not got under control. Inflation under Trump was an average 1.9%. That's the target rate of the Fed is 2%. Inflation right now is 3.3%. And that doesn't mean that prices have risen 3.3% since 2019. That means that prices have risen 3.3% since last year. That means that overall, over Biden's presidency, inflation has increased about 40%. So that orange juice, or that milk, that bread, those eggs, that bacon, everything that you get at the store is about 40% higher than what it used to be in 2019 under Trump. And yes, the stimulus checks added to that. No one's saying they didn't. But those checks were basically a necessity in 2020 during COVID. Otherwise, we would have had probably something close to the Great Depression and definitely the Great Recession. Biden came in and decided to pass another stimulus check that was not needed. COVID was on the downturn, and the American economy had already been pumped full of trillions of dollars. Biden came in, passed a third stimulus check that was not needed, and he came in and passed two other big spending bills, catapulting inflation. That's what catapulted inflation. This reckless spending that Biden continues to do even to this day with taxpayer dollars and just made up dollars that the government has borrowed and has increased our debt. That's what Biden has done. And that's why inflation is still costing the average family $1,000 a month. Remember that when you go to the polls. If you have a friend or anything, someone who's not necessarily maybe into politics, or someone who is on the fence, they don't know who to vote for, heck, even a Democrat you have, it's like, you know what, I'm voting Biden.